Hi everybody, it's Chris Morehouse, CTO of MobiusFlow. Today I would like to give you an introduction to MobiusFlow LITE, Aruba and EnOcean Edition. So once you've logged in, you're taken immediately to the dashboard. The dashboard shows you a brief overview of all of the devices that you have connected to the system. EnOcean sensors and devices, and the Aruba access points, which are collecting the information from the field. In addition, if you have areas where you don't have Aruba access coverage, you can also use our MobiusFlow connectors to extend the coverage. From the dashboard, you can see which devices are active, the total number of devices you have, for instance, which devices are stale, so that's devices which haven't sent data for a predetermined period of time. You can also have a look and see which access points are online, offline, and once again, obviously, the total. If we then go down into the sensors section, here you can have an overview of all of the EnOcean sensors that you've currently got configured. There's a number of ways to view these. You can either view them as cards, which you can expand and contract individually to get more data or more information. You can expand them all, and you can also view them as a list if that's the way you prefer to work. On the Aruba access points, you have almost exactly the same view. So once again, you have the card view and you also have the list view. Both of these views can also be filtered. So you can actually search for a specific device or number of devices. So if I was looking for the devices in the reception area, for instance, I can just start to type that. But if I'm looking for all of my air quality devices, I can just start and type that, and I only get the air quality devices. That filtering works in both views, so you can switch between the list view and the card view, and the search parameters that you put in follow with you. The items can also be paged, so you can decide how many items you want on a page, just to make it easier to get through the devices. If you expand a device, you then have a number of options on the bottom, so you can obviously delete a device. You can edit a device, so you can change its unique ID, the name, location, description, etc. You can also view live data from a device. So this will be the last information that was received from that device. If you want to add new devices, there's two ways of doing that. You can either click on the Add Sensor, in which case you get brought through to the Add Sensor dialog box. Here you can choose your EnOcean profile. And there's a number of ways to search through them. If you know the EnOcean equipment profile that you're looking for, you can start typing that. So if I'm looking for F6 devices, I can find those. But I can also look for devices by their type. So for instance, if I'm looking for current sensors, I can just start to type that, and it will give me a list of all of those devices. I can then select the device that I wanted. I need to give it a unique ID, so every EnOcean device has a unique hexadecimal ID, which is typically printed on the back of the device on the label or on the device's box. So you need to enter one of those. I'm just going to enter the one that I have here on my desk. And then you also need to give it a name. So we'll call this current clamp 1 for now. Description and location are optional. You can either enter them or you don't need to. So for this device, I won't bother. And if I then go on to the next page, I can see the device I've just added. And I can see the information. It didn't enter a description and location, so that information isn't shown. Once again, I can go and edit that device if I want to. I cannot change its equipment profile type. I can only change the unique ID and the other information. Another way to add a device is to select an existing device that you have and click on the clone icon. That will then bring you up a copy of that device. The unique ID won't be filled out because obviously that needs to be unique. So you can add that in. You can make any other adjustments to the name, location, description as required, and add that sensor too. Adding Aruba APs is just as simple. Once again, you have exactly the same options. So you can click on the plus. You need to enter a MAC address and a pre-shared key. That MAC address is the MAC address of your Aruba AP that you're trying to connect to the system. The pre-shared key is the pre-shared key that you would have entered into the Aruba access point when you were setting it up. And that's just to make sure that it's authorized to connect to this system. Once again, you need a name and an optional description and location. The icons for the Aruba access points are exactly the same as for the sensors. So you can delete the device, you can view live data from the device, you can clone it, and you can edit it. Under the Settings tab, we have two options for you to be able to publish your data. So that is, any live data that comes in from a sensor or device will get published out to your chosen endpoint. The two options are you can either publish via MQTT, and on this tab, the first option under MQTT broker is where you set up the MQTT broker that you want to connect to, so the address, the port, etc., username and password. If you have an anonymous connection, you can just leave those blank. And then the topic template. So that's the topic that you want that MQTT message to publish on. Here you can use free text, and you can also use templated variables which come from the devices. So for instance, the unique ID and the name. Once you're happy with that, just update the publish settings. The second option for publishing is you can publish directly to Azure IoT Hub, and here you would just enter the details for your IoT Hub. And here you just enter the details for your IoT Hub. You can also enter the details for the Azure Device Provisioning Service, in which case the devices will automatically be created in IoT Hub the first time that you try and send data for that device. Well, I hope that was useful, and I hope it shows really how easy it is to connect EnOcean sensors and Aruba access points to be able to collect data and send that data out to the endpoint of your choice. Thank you very much. Cheers.